Good evening. I am Carmen James Randolph, one of the founding 5 board members of the Women's Foundation of the South. I welcome you to this inaugural event of WFS, as we like to call it. We are delighted that you are joining us this evening to learn more about this exciting foundation and its mission. Imagine, if you will, a flourishing South where women and girls of color are healthy, safe, and well resourced to determine their own destinies and ensure that they and their families thrive. WFS believes we can manifest this vision if we center and invest in the health and well being, wealth, and power of Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Asian women, including trans women and non binary people. Today, you'll hear from stakeholders across the South about the importance of this foundation and why investing in this kind of grant making institution is critical at this moment.
Good evening, and welcome, my sisters, to the inaugural Salon event for the Women's Foundation of the South, a new foundation envisioned and created by Southern women of color and their allies to build the health, wealth, and power of women and girls of color in the South. My name is Gladys Krieger Washington, and I am honored and proud to say that I am one of the fierce founding 5 of the Women's Foundation of the South. We all know the strength, power, and dynamism of women of color, and the world now knows it too. And yet, we also know that women and girls of color bear the greatest brunt of disparities that weigh heavily in our lives, our homes, and our communities. As a retired Southern grant maker from the Mary Rose Babcock Foundation, I am deeply concerned about the plight of women and girls of color in the South and have chosen to spend my retirement dedicated to the formation, launch, and institutionalization of this important foundation. I know all too well that organizations supporting women and girls of color are under-resourced and or not recognized as valuable and viable. That is why we have chosen to work towards a different pathway, one that holds the promise to support the building of social, economic, political, and gender justice movements with women and girls of color leading and at the center of fundamental and enduring change in the South through this vehicle, the Women's Foundation of the South. It is possible for us to support our own liberation. Please watch, listen, and participate over the next hour. Again, welcome and thank you all for being here.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jade Lenoir. I am from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I work with AIDS United, as well as being the founder and executive director of the Just Love Collaborative. I'm here with you today to not only welcome you to this awesome event, but also to create a centering space for us to share with one another collectively. One of the things that I struggled with when I was presented with this humbling opportunity to share space with such amazing women and people in philanthropy was the idea that I was worthy of such an honor. And what crept into my mind and my consciousness, though for a moment, was something by the name of doubt. And what I found throughout my journey is that doubt has been something that it can be crippling. It can be negative. For some people, they may not see it as that or as such. One of the things that I've come to realize and I've come to learn about doubt is that it doesn't truly exist unless you breathe life into it. And it doesn't necessarily serve a purpose in life to fulfill you or bring you to a greater purpose. And it reminded me of a time when I was back in Louisiana, just drove home from work, and I was sitting in the parking lot in the car, and I was overcome with doubt. And in the moment, I realized that one of the things that I learned the most, or how I learned the most, was when I paused and when I breathed and I listened. So pausing, breathing, and listening were the three things that I recognized truly would help me during those moments of doubt. In that moment, when I paused, took some deep breaths, and listened, none other than Gladys Knight started playing on the radio, and her words said, "To fulfill the need to be who I am in this world is all I ask." And I sat and I thought, I said, that is really amazing. Though it seemed really minuscule in the moment, it was really impactful and powerful. I decided to change the channel. And the next person that was on the radio was none other than Aretha Franklin. And she was spelling out RESPECT. And again, I paused and I kind of laughed to myself and thought, coincidental. How funny. I changed the channel again. And what I heard next was Anita Baker. And Anita Baker said, "I'm giving you the best that I've got." In that moment, I truly, truly realized that not only did I take a moment to pause and to breathe and to listen and acknowledge the space that I was in, but I was being presented and granted a solution to the doubt. I can only fulfill the need to be who I am in this world. So I come to you to ask that you provide yourself with that same grace and understanding with not just yourself, but with others, your sisters, your people, your family, your friends, the people that you share space with. So grant yourself grace, grant yourself understanding, knowing that we are in this together. And as a woman who intersects many, many communities, understanding that all women are beautiful in the variations in which we show up in the world, and we exist. So I say to you, welcome again to the virtual salon. Enjoy the experience with your sisters, friends, family, and people. And don't forget to support Women's Foundation of the South.
Hi, everyone. This is Katherine Muttepha, and I am one of the founding 5 of the Women's Foundation of the South. And I am excited to be here. I am so excited that you are here, and I'm excited for this impact that we are about to make together. So by day, I'm a social worker. I have been a social worker for more than 2 decades. I will always be a social worker. However, I have the fortunate privilege to work for a global pharmaceutical company, specifically with the population of people living with HIV. I've been doing this work for close to 28 years as a volunteer, a Global Peace Corps volunteer, as well as a research advocate. This work is extremely important to me, and it really grounds me in my commitment to the foundation. Thank you so much for being here today. At the Women's Foundation of the South, we recognize access to care is more than insurance and Medicaid coverage. I mean, let's be honest. It is also about the experience that women, specifically African American women, Latin women, Asian women, have in America to access care for all the things that they are confronted with. At the Women's Foundation of the South, we believe that this is true for all women, regardless of their experiences, but specifically for women who identify as trans or of trans experience. In addition, we support reproductive justice from healthy birth all the way to gender confirmation. That's who we are at the Women's Foundation of the South.
I'm Dr. Denise Shervington, psychiatrist, public health practitioner, and the CEO president of the Institute of Women and Ethnic Studies, a translational public health organization in New Orleans. Issues around gender and race are socially constructed, and still in our society, there are lots of inequities that women and people of color face. It is extremely important that we have a foundation that's focused on the well-being of women, exist in a region of the country where all the outcomes in terms of economic outcomes, health outcomes, educational outcomes are so poor and way below the national standards. We need a women's foundation in the South to understand the unique needs that women have because of these inequities, and also because women are the mother of the earth. The society depends on the well-being of women to have healthy families, to have healthy children, and therefore we must attend to the needs of those who have been marginalized because of gender and oftentimes the intersectionality with race. The Women Foundation of the South, whose mission is to serve women, address their economic and health well-being, will be tremendously important. Health depends on wealth, because wealth so oftentimes determines what those social determinants of health are. So as we're seeking to improve health outcomes, we have to improve the economic conditions and create stability for women. As the CEO of a women's organization in the South, a nonprofit, a community-based organization, I will ask everyone to consider supporting this foundation. Organizations like mine and many others would so much benefit from this support. And you can do that in many ways. The very obvious one, of course, would be your generous donations. But you can also be a part of whatever volunteer staff that might be needed. You can highlight the work that's being done in the work that you're doing. And most of all, you can just send love to the founders and the staff that are going to start up this amazing organization. They will need that. They will need your love and support, your money and your time.
name is Charisse West. I am president and CEO of the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation, and I am one of the founding board members of the Women's Foundation for the South. So the Women's Foundation for the South wants to provide support in terms of funding training, connecting women organizations with facilitators and leaders. So this comes in the form of grants. It comes in the form of providing grants for skill building, technical support, and the like to develop strategy for women to be on boards, to head local nonprofits, to be strategic in their local communities in ensuring that women are well placed to make the kind of changes that we want to see around reproductive health, economic health, education for women in the South. The Women's Foundation for the South understands that it is all of that. Advocacy isn't just about organizing voices, but there's so much more that goes into good, solid campaigns and good, solid policy and structural change. We want to fund disruption. We want to fund disruptors. We want to fund those who want to dismantle and break down barriers that just are not working on behalf of girls and women in communities. The Women's Foundation for the South, at the center of all that we plan to do, is about building power for women. And the question you may ask is, how do we plan to do that? Power starts in community. Communities know what they want to do, how they want to do it, the best approach to it, but just may be under-resourced to do so. So for us at the foundation, we want to provide the resources to build power that you need to make the change you want to see happen in your community. And by that, it is grants so that you can build your skills, making sure that you are heard and that your messaging and that your approach is well-resourced so that you are heard. We understand what is necessary to build power. We know that it takes money. We know that it takes a solid communications plan. We know that it takes strategy. We know that it takes organizing. It requires building your base. It requires a lot. And we're not the type of funder who will shy away when the going gets tough or when you are going to be challenged in your power building, but to stand beside you as you build your power to make the kind of change that you want to make. So the how is just that. It is with support. And it's not just support in terms of words and, yeah, girl, we got you, we got your back, we support you. It'll be support in terms of actual dollars, in terms of technical support, communication support, and all things that go into building a base of power for the change that you want to see happen.
Thus far, you've heard from women across the South focused on the health, well-being of women and girls, and from those focused on building movements and power, as well as increasing women's leadership to change the South. WFS will work to change the economic trajectory of more than 5 million women and girls across the South over the next decade. We will do this by investing in women of color-led nonprofits and women of color entrepreneurs. We know that nonprofits in the South, led by women of color, especially Black women, are severely under-resourced by philanthropy, garnering the abysmal equivalent of $2.36 per woman to support their work. In addition, we also know that women of color entrepreneurs receive less than 1% of investment capital. We trust women to lead, make change, and resource their families, themselves, and their communities. They just need the resources to do it.
For me, farming is a way of being. You're a farmer in spirit, I believe. You're always at the mercy of a higher power, a higher energy.
For so much of my life, I have done what I'm good at. And now I get to do what fuels me.
Increasing the number of BIPOC women landowners and business owners and farmers allows you to cast away the shackles that being in this country can place upon you. That's one of the greatest purposes I can feel in this world.
A foundation that is committed to the well-being and advancement of women and female children in the South is needed because as a product of the South, I'm from Alabama's Black Belt region, which has a rich history in the civil rights movement, as well as is known for its proliferation of socioeconomically disadvantaged Black people. It's been not only my personal experience, but also through research and through the experiences that travel have afforded me. I've been able to witness how the disparities for women in the South are even greater than in other places in the country. And in some instances, the situations that women in the South deal with are akin to situations that are experienced by developing countries. And in the South, research shows that the disparity in pay for women, Southern women, is even greater than the disparity in pay experienced by women in other areas of the country. And let's be frank, we know that when it comes to the South, there has been a long, I won't say rich, but a long storied relationship with race, and particularly for women in the South who are of color. The statistics are even more dire for their outcomes as far as education, as far as healthcare, as far as pay equity, and all of the things that we think of that contribute to a dignified quality of life.
I am Dr. Rashida Govan, and I am the founder and executive director of Project Butterfly New Orleans, which is an African-centered girls' rites of passage program. In our program, we use a culturally centered approach to address issues that are pertinent to girls of African descent. Our objective is to prepare them to be change makers and leaders in their communities and families, and to really instill in them a set of cultural values that will carry them through their lives and help them to navigate the very difficult terrain that's ahead of them as women of color. And finally, what we hope to achieve with our girls is to prepare them to transform the communities in which they live. So we do policy advocacy work with them, we do wellness work with them, we help them to develop the skills to make healthy decisions, and we build a community of support around them that they can tap for the rest of their lives, so that they can be successful, self-actualized, and amazing women. And that's the work that we do at Project Butterfly. The reason why a foundation such as the Women's Foundation of the South is important in this region is because we need philanthropic support that really understands the plight of women and girls of color in this region. And we need a philanthropic partner that understands this landscape and the context in which we are operating. For women and girls organizations in this area, Black girls and women and girls of color are truly invisible. Trying to convince philanthropic partners whose lens in this work is patriarchal is also centered on whiteness and white supremacy, and also who just have a charitable mindset rather than a partnership mindset, and a mindset that we have the capacity to address our own issues, makes our work much more difficult. And it also means that our examination, understanding of our problems is often filtered through that lens. Quite frequently, the metrics used to decide on what is a significant issue, what is a real problem, doesn't really consider the deep and harmful impact that many of the issues that we encounter here in the South in particular are having on our families and on us in particular. So having a philanthropic partner like the Women's Foundation of the South is a really critical need for us. We need people who are going to be philanthropic. We need a philanthropic partner that's going to be a real partner with us in enacting change. We need a philanthropic partner that really understands the value and the assets that we bring to the table as women and girls of color. And we need a philanthropic partner who's willing to put their money where their mouth is, to really back the solutions that we know will transform our communities and our lives.
I am Vanessa M. Logan, and I'm founder and CEO of Nessa in Your Neighborhood, which is an organization that embodies the principle responsibility to navigate, explore, serve, sustain, and advocate for what makes a local and global community of people thrive. We as women have commonalities. I feel there is a great need in the South for this type of foundation. I unapologetically share voices of women in the community who are committed to their purpose. It has been stated that our experiences and perspectives will no longer be ignored. We are in dire need of safe places and spaces that can nurture our voices and talents for the greater good. Imagine a place that women of color could go for sanctuary from the cradle to the grave. Cultivation of a never-ending place of learning and a boost of confidence and grace is often necessary to conquer the outside world's atrocities. Cultivating a foundation whose sole mission is to directly pour its resources into the women and girls of the South could have a dominating effect not only on this nation, but the world. Because if you can change the South, you can dismantle the systems of the liberation of women and their freedoms. Now, with deeper conversation, it's also been stated that women are known for being women of power, innovation, and are considered the rock. Through innovation, education, philanthropy, business, and more, women have made significant contributions. Although we've made these contributions, we are still having to fight for equal access. We stand together on these challenges. Women feel that when a foundation is solely dedicated to young girls and women, resources can be allocated to educate and empower this generation and generations to come. It can provide solutions versus problems. We are beautiful, diverse women understanding the importance of inclusion. The foundation will be the stepping stone to help women create the narrative by writing our own stories and stand strong in the power of our purpose. This type foundation will empower us to knock down the barriers of feeling excluded. We will be the bold women we are meant to be, and this foundation can sustain the overall holistic health, which is our mind, body, and soul that matters, moving toward the possible and positive outcomes. Through Nessa in Your Neighborhood, our youth, young female parents, and women learn hands-on the importance of equality and sustainability, which is empowered through various workshops, digital platforms, support groups, one-on-one coaching, and mentorship. They are empowered to have healthy relationships, successful careers, and be effective leaders in their homes and communities. An impactful narrative of women called Raw Talk is an unapologetic discussion giving us the opportunity and freedom to reclaim our voice by showing up for our lives and being unafraid. Raw Talk covers a wide range of topics, including cultural identity, race, religion, sexuality, self-care, and more.
My name is Mariah Moore. My pronouns are she and her. I am one of the co-founders and co-executive director of House of Tulip, based here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am also a national organizer for Transgender Law Center. House of Tulip provides housing solutions for trans and gender nonconforming Louisianians. We also provide services such as linkage to care, linkage to educational services, and also linkage to healthcare. A foundation dedicated to women and girls in the South is needed because women's rights, reproductive justice, the right to choose has been under attack and will continue to be under attack. And so I think that a foundation that centers women and girls, that provides them with the funding and the resources to continue to do the work that we need to do to, have ownership of our bodies and to make decisions is definitely something that should exist. And we all need to make sure that we're supporting not only the foundations, but the organizations that center women and girls. The foundation's work can directly impact the communities that I work in, as well as other communities of women and girls, by providing them unrestricted funding to do the work that their organization set out to do from the beginning. Lots of times funding is pushed into a lot of organizations, and it comes with a lot of restrictions or guidelines about how you can spend it and what type of work you can do. But I really feel like when we get or give organizations the freedom to do the work that they set out doing in the beginning, we'll reach a lot of our visions for liberation a lot quicker. And so, yeah, I think it's important that, women are funding women, and that, we're just really centering the needs right here and right now. Make sure that you're donating your time, your resources, any type of support that you can give Women's Foundation of the South. This foundation is critical to the empowerment of women and girls, and we cannot do this without your support. So please support Women's Foundation of the South.
Hello, I'm founding philanthropic advisor Erin McQuaid-Wright. The Women's Foundation of the South is dedicated to the prosperity of Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Asian women. We want to build not only wealth, but a generational legacy for women and girls of color in the South. Financial agency is a critical linchpin that gives women and girls of color the opportunity to determine their own destinies. Access to capital for starting or growing a business and the creation of generational wealth can both be tied to home ownership, since many people use the equity in their homes to finance their entrepreneurship. We are committed to building a permanent, sustainable foundation with endowed and earned sources of revenue to sustain us. If you believe, as I do, that the Women's Foundation of the South must be, I urge you to make a gift today. A small monthly gift will help us sustain our operations over time. A major gift or a grant will help us get to the point where we can hire staff, build out our communications, and enact our strategic plan. WFS is also able to accept gifts of stock, real estate, retirement assets, insurance policies, and other illiquid assets, working with professional advisors like CPAs, estate attorneys, and wealth advisors. Your gift, plus your employer's generous match, will help build this critically important permanent inheritance for generations of women and girls of color to come. Thank you.
My name is Janelle Williams, and I am a senior advisor at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. I serve on the Community and Economic Development team, and I work closely on issues related to advancing racial equity, supporting small businesses, and fostering inclusive economic development strategies. Some of the most persistent and enduring patterns of systemic racism, intergenerational poverty, and economic oppression are evidenced in the South. And unfortunately, too many women and girls of color feel the bruises of that neglect. I think a foundation dedicated to making sure that all women and all girls living in the rich region of the South tells a narrative beaming with pride, opportunity, and hope for all women and for all girls. And a specific focus on women and girls of color is essential because we cannot thrive as a region if we continue to disregard and dismiss the vital voices, the necessary stories, and the glimmers of hope that women and girls of color continue to defend and bring to our region day after day. So much of who we are as a society, as a community, as a region, lives in the veins of women and girls of color. Investing in women and girls of color supports wealth building strategies and can be done by supporting women to start, sustain, and scale small businesses, help women and girls of color advance dynamic land acquisition strategies, and foster opportunities to cultivate shared ownership models amongst women of color. By investing in these dynamic models where we directly give resources to people in places that they live and care about, we are supporting economic freedom for women and girls of color. And in supporting the economic freedom for women and girls of color, we are also supporting the communities that we care so deeply about. Too often, we cite inequitable social and economic outcomes in the South, a region that has often been considered a representation of deep and enduring patterns of systemic oppression. Unfortunately, women and girls of color too often feel the brunt of the data always cited. A foundation committed to lifting the voices, opportunities, and hope for women and girls of color fosters a powerful and necessary narrative. For we know when women and girls of color are thriving, we all thrive. So excited that this initiative is going to be launched.
Dwayne Ashley, CEO and founder of Bridge Philanthropic Consulting. We are the largest African-American owned full-service fundraising, marketing, and communications firm dedicated to communities of color and to innovation. BPC is a social justice and nonprofit disruptor. We like projects that are really going against the grain and are really disrupting norms and systems that have blocked parts of our society from parity. We believe that the Women's Foundation of the South is an important project for really leveling the playing field. We need a foundation in the South that will be dedicated to women and girls to helping them to reach their full potential. So I know firsthand the important work that this foundation will do in building programs around health and wellness and nutrition and food security, and providing the important mentoring support to women entrepreneurs who need access to capital, but also need an opportunity to be in community with other entrepreneurs, helping women who have been incarcerated to reach their full potential, building the creative arts by giving those budding entrepreneurs who bring their creative geniuses to the South to create job opportunities. So we are really vested in helping the Women's Foundation of the South to reach its full potential, because we know that these programs will be at the very grassroots level, which is where you really are able to get to the action that makes a difference in communities. The Women's Foundation of the South is going to have an enormous impact in driving change and transformation. You will see those outcomes in more entrepreneurs, more businesses, more programs that will be focused on funding women and girls, more job opportunities, more leadership and role models through the people that will finally be given many of the tools and the resources they need to drive change in their communities.
I just want to thank everyone again for joining us tonight for this inaugural salon. I have to thank you, Toya. You truly are a North Star to all of us sisters in philanthropy. And I just thank you for your vision and for your voice and your value that you bring and you share so generously with all of us. So thank you, Toya. And also again to Bonita, to Olivia, Christy Slater, Jilla Tombar, my sister Kirsten Randolph. You all worked beautifully with the Spears Group, and we say thank you to Spears for pulling together such a wonderful evening, and also to the other fierce members of the Founding Five, Gladys, Aaron, Kaita, and Charisse. Thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I did not thank all of the leaders from across the South who shared their voices with us tonight, starting with Jade and Farmer C, Dr. Shervington, Dr. Govan, Dr. Williams, Mariah Moore, Nessa Logan, and again, thank you to BPC, to Dwayne Ashley for all of his generosity, and to Karen Hunt, who is our manager at BPC. So again, we hope that you enjoyed tonight's presentation. We are happy that this is just the start of the conversation. We encourage you to visit our website. We encourage you to reach out to us if you have questions and would like to give, and please follow us on social media.